Imagine a projectile that arrives before your warning lights can even flash. It travels faster than a jetliner, slicing across radar screens and rewriting the rules of modern warfare. For the first time in a major conflict, Russia has unleashed weapons that governments once only boasted about, hypersonic missiles. This is the story of how they were used in Ukraine, the promise, the panic, the propaganda, and the uneasy reality that followed. In the next 15 minutes, we'll dive into the technology behind three headline-making systems: the air-launched Kh-47 Ma-2 Kinzhal, the scramjet-powered 3M-22 Zircon, and the newer, mysterious Oreshnik. We'll show what their use in Ukraine revealed about their strengths, their limits, and the new face of modern strike warfare. Along the way, we'll use maps, intercepted telemetry, satellite imagery, and expert analysis to separate myth from fact. If you find this useful, like, share, and subscribe. It helps us dig deeper. So what does hypersonic actually mean? It's a speed designation, Mach 5 and above, or 5 times the speed of sound. But hypersonic isn't one single design. Some missiles follow a ballistic arc at extreme speeds, making them difficult to track. Others are more like cruise missiles, powered by advanced engines called scramjets, to sustain speed and maneuver at lower altitudes. And still others are gliders that ride atop the atmosphere after being launched by a rocket booster. The practical result is always the same: drastically shortened reaction times for defenders, unique heat signatures, and sometimes a messaging value that's far greater than their actual effect on the battlefield. Russia's poster child for this technology was the Kh-47M2, the Kinzhal, or dagger. Marketed as an unstoppable game-changer, it's an air-launched missile derived from the ground-based Iskander system. Moscow first claimed to use it in March 2022, early in the full-scale invasion, and has since launched it selectively against what it describes as high-value targets. Each launch was a political signal as much as a tactical strike, fast, dramatic, and a demonstration of power. But as investigators and defense analysts pieced together the evidence, a more nuanced picture emerged. The Kinzhal travels incredibly fast, often reported at speeds up to Mach 10, but in many observed cases, it behaved more like a conventional ballistic missile, just one that got a high-speed boost from its launch aircraft. It didn't seem to have the extreme maneuverability that was initially advertised. This implied a different set of vulnerabilities than the headlines suggested, and crucially, air defenses began to challenge these weapons. There are now verified instances where Patriot systems have successfully engaged and destroyed incoming Kinzhal-class missiles, completely undercutting the claim that they were unstoppable. Next up is the 3M-22 Zircon. This is a scramjet-powered cruise weapon, originally designed for anti-ship missions but also adapted for land attack roles. With a reported range of nearly 1,000 kilometers and speeds up to Mach 9, it's a formidable weapon. Russia declared the Zircon operational and, according to official statements and battlefield evidence, began using it against Ukraine. In February 2024, multiple sources confirmed a Zircon strike against Kyiv, which the Kremlin framed as a major leap forward in naval precision strike capability. Yet, its operational use also exposed practical limits. Scramjet missiles are notoriously complex and expensive to produce. Analysis of debris from strikes raised questions about the missile's ability to maneuver in its final moments. It appears that as the Zircon approaches its target, it has to slow down, creating a window of opportunity where air defense systems can potentially intercept it. Then, in late 2024, reports emerged of something new: a Russian hypersonic missile dubbed Oreshnik. Ukrainian authorities stated it struck the city of Dnipro in November, reaching speeds over Mach 11. This claim, combined with reports that it carried multiple submunitions, sent immediate shockwaves through the international community. This development showed how new weapons announcements can be used to test geopolitical red lines and signal new capabilities. But as with the Kinzhal and Zircon before it, independent verification of the Oreshnika's true performance remains the essential, and often very slow, part of piecing together the puzzle. Across the expert literature, from technical papers to think tank analyses, two clear themes emerge. First, hypersonic speed is a real operational headache. It drastically complicates early warning and compresses the time leaders have to make a decision. Second, Most of the Russian hypersonic weapons used in Ukraine so far fall into a middle category. They use high speed to their advantage, but they still exhibit behaviors like a predictable ballistic arc or a terminal slowdown that make interception possible with modern layered air defenses. Put simply, Russia's hypersonic deployments have forced defenders to react faster and use their most expensive interceptors, but they have not made air defenses obsolete. And Ukraine's air defense networks, bolstered by Western systems and intelligence, adapted. On nights of massive coordinated assaults, Ukrainian officials reported incredibly high interception rates. In fact, following some large-scale raids, they claimed to have shot down hundreds of incoming targets, including Kinzhal-class missiles. Experts emphasize a crucial tactical point. Many hypersonic threats can be engaged in their terminal phase, that final stage of flight when they may have slowed down or are on a more predictable path. What really changes is the cost equation. Defending against a single high-speed missile requires expensive interceptors and puts immense strain on sensor networks, sometimes leaving them vulnerable to follow-up attacks. This highlights that hypersonic missiles are both weapons and powerful instruments of messaging. They are extremely costly to build, with estimates for some systems running into the millions of dollars per round. Their true value might actually come from their psychological impact, undermining public confidence, forcing an enemy to reallocate precious air defense assets, and signaling a willingness to escalate. On the ground, analysts have found that most Kinzhal and Zircon strikes did not produce decisive battlefield shifts. The war's dynamic has largely remained one of attrition, where large barrages of cheaper cruise missiles and drones inflict the widest and most consistent damage, while hypersonics are reserved for niche roles. So, what have we learned from all this? First, hypersonic speed is a real and dangerous capability, but it is not a magic bullet. Second, layered air defenses, combining different types of sensors and interceptors, can blunt and sometimes defeat these advanced attacks. Third, the strategic effect is as much about psychological warfare and signaling as it is about physical destruction. And finally, for nations facing these threats, the best defense isn't a single silver bullet system, but rather a deep investment in detection, redundancy, and resilience. Russia brought hypersonic weapons from theory to the theater of war. They surprised, they scared, but they did not fundamentally break the established rules of combat. The next chapter, dealing with their proliferation, developing effective countermeasures, and creating new doctrines, is already being written. Stay informed, share this video, like, subscribe, and ring the bell, because the future of strike and defense will be decided in the seconds between detection and impact.